Fort Wayne Community Schools Board of School Trustees meeting. We begin this meeting as we do each meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now we have roll call of members.
Good evening, Steve Corona from the 5th District.
Good evening, Antoinette Payne, District 4.
Hello, Noah Smith, District 3.
Hello, Jennifer Mathias, District 2.
Ann Duff, Member at Large.
And to my left, we have Dr. Mark Daniel, Superintendent of Fort Wayne Community Schools, and Angie Filler, Clerk of the Board, and I'm Maria Norman, Member at Large, and Julie Hollingsworth is not with us this evening. We have no awards and recognition this evening, so we start with our consent agenda, which includes approval of minutes from the regular meeting on April 28th, vouchers and payroll approval, the personnel report, and required disclosures. Is there a motion on the floor to...
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Noah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Dr. Daniel, did you?
I do have
Okay, thank you.
something to add. So, Julie, you're here. Could you please stand, please? So, Julie Spradling began her education career in 2002 in California teaching kindergarten. She came to Fort Wayne in 2007 and worked as a teacher and director at Willowbrook Day School. It was during this time that she began her journey with the Montessori method of teaching and learning. She started teaching at Bunch Montessori Early Childhood Center in 2008 and was a classroom teacher for ages 3 through 6, pre-K and kindergarten until 2020, when she became the school's Montessori resource teacher. In addition to teaching children, she has trained numerous Montessori professionals and is currently an adjunct professor at the Center for Montessori Education at Trine University. She has been named Teacher of the Year at Bunch in 2020. And as we know, Julie replaces Tamara Mullins, who is now Director of Elementary Education. So welcome to a principalship. Which I might add, the best Montessori program in the state and surrounding states, I would say.
Thank you. Did it? Okay. Congratulations. Okay. We have no old business, so we move to new business. Steve, can you read A, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
It is recommended the board declare an emergency for the following projects and to allocate funds from the emergency allocation within the capital projects plan. There's 3 items listed there. $34,480 worth of work at South Wayne Elementary. $10,850 for Washington Center Elementary School. They had to repair a water main break. And $11,935.60 for work at Abbott Elementary for a compressor failure on the chiller there, and then the installation work that ensued. Total cost for these 3 emergency projects is $57,265.60. The capital projects plan consists of all capital projects that cost $10,000 or more. New projects over $10,000 determined after the plan was approved are required to follow advertisement and approval requirements of the plan. However, state law allows the board to determine that an emergency exists and therefore amends the current plan without the usual amendment procedures. And Pete Smith, the Director of Maintenance and Operations, is here to answer any questions about this emergency work.
Thanks, Steve. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Jen. Any questions for Pete? Pete, are these our only emergencies that we've done for this school year?
Yes, the only one's above 10,000.
Okay.
So we can't submit unless it's above the $10,000 repair. So the rest of the repairs, we've done emergency repairs, they've just been under that threshold.
Okay.
So we pay for that out of our normal budget.
Got it. Okay. And so then that budget line I know is higher than that, so we're still good.
Yeah, that's a $200,000 line item in the emergency budget. So this is the first I guess, draw on that this year.
Awesome. Any other questions for Pete?
I think that where Maria was getting, how much have we spent then already? If you had others under 10,000, I mean, you could have, $102,000 ones and we're not.
That's a good question. I couldn't tell you what that number is off the top of my head because we run, keep in mind, 13,000 work orders through our group every year. So I don't necessarily know right off the top of my head how many of those have been considered emergencies versus just regular, reactive repair work.
Gotcha.
We haven't had too many, though, of that size. I can tell you that. We've been pretty fortunate this year.
That's good, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully it's a reflection of our preventive maintenance program because we really have implemented that last year in full force. So now we have about, I think it's around 1,500 pieces of equipment that we do a preventive maintenance on throughout the course of the year. So theoretically, our PM should go up and our reactive should go down.
Like it.
You mentioned that the 200,000 was the line item. Is the 200,000 the line item for emergency projects only over $10,000?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else? Thanks, Pete.
All right. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And now we will go, Steve is so excited that we started on time that he went to item B on the agenda, so we need to jump to item A. Tony, can you do A?
I believe so. Hopefully.
Thank you.
It is recommended that the board approve the acceptance of a one-year donation from the United Way of Allen County for $80,000 for 2025-26 FWCS Families and Transitions Temporary Case Manager. Case management services include but are not limited to providing resources for food, medical, and housing needs. Additionally, the case manager assists unaccompanied youth in obtaining birth certificates and facilitates their transition into college or vocational training. During the 2024-2025 school year, the case manager successfully provided services to 116 students. This non-competitive application was written by Christian Perez Mora, Families and Transition Coordinator, and Christian and Shanita Bolton, Chief of Family and Community Engagement and Schools of Success, will be available to answer any questions.
Thanks, Tony. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Jen. Any questions for Christian or Shanita?
So is this person housed at FACE?
Yes, she is.
Okay.
Did United Way supply a grant previous to this year for that role?
So, did United Way, is that what you said?
Yeah.
No, United Way, we got a donation last year from the Community Foundation. It was a one-time donation, and so that expired. So United Way wanted to continue that project by providing us another donation to facilitate the same work for another year.
So how long has this person, has it just been a 2-year position so far?
So far, as a FWCS employee, yes. The original position started with the American Rescue Plan funds, where they wanted us to really get creative and provide those wraparound services for these homeless families. And so it created that position through those funds. However, as you know, those expired after 2 years, which is what led the Community Foundation to do that donation for this last year, and then now United Way. So the goal is to keep it permanent, but for now we only have a 1-year commitment.
And that 80,000 covers the salary and fringe benefits of one person?
Correct.
Well, thank you to the United Way.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, what do we do as a district from a donation perspective to United Way each year, roughly? You would know that, Dr. Daniel or Rosie or anybody else?
I don't.
Seems like it's 20 or 30,000. Is that, am I way off base
I
there?
can find out and let you know.
But what's your number right now as far as homeless or in the house?
Total, we're close to 1,400 right now.
Yeah. So, and this was part of the visitation of Little Rock, was discussion. This came forward in our group discussion with the team that met there. And again, what are we doing to meet the needs of these kids? And I think the public just does not realize the number of students that we have in this particular need. So that's why what Christian does and her team is so critical. And that's probably that's a low number compared to the actual number. So,
How long have you been doing this role, Christian?
This will be my 5th year?
Has that number gone down ever?
No.
It just continues to climb?
No, the only time it has gone down is during COVID, and that was due to not being able to identify families after the closure of schools. So, I mean, we did have actively those families, but it's continued to spike in the hundreds from COVID on.
I mean, I presume financial hardship's a part of it, but do you see any kind of common theme throughout the 1,400 families or whatever you deal with, the consistency of what causes the homelessness or what the challenges are?
It differs by year. We do see a consistent and year by year. So after COVID, we saw a dramatic spike in intakes that were related to domestic violence. We also saw a lot of evictions, and so the evictions have continued. Us as a whole in Allen County, we have one of the highest eviction rates, so that also reflects into what the families hardship. And so with those eviction records, they're unable to get stable housing. There's a lot of landlords that don't accept, whether it's 1 eviction or 5, they just can't find stable housing because of it. We do have a growing population of families that are living in hotels, and these families just don't have the means to have that stability in the permanent housing as well. So those are some of the trends that unfortunately we have continued to see, but they differ. It's case.
Thank you.
Then I just had a question. So there's roughly 1,400 students that are being, that fall under that classification. And it said this, and here it says 116 students were served. So what is happening with the rest of those families?
So 116 students were served by this individual case manager. So these are the students that are rather really high need, that need a full scope of services, have very limited access to whether that's health, mental health services, food, those kind of things. So she will basically make sure and follow them through the year to make sure that they get and follow through with those services. She also works with those high need families, those hotel families that just need a whole wraparound support. So we wish that we could serve those one-on-one more, but as far as one person per year, 116 is a big number for one person to follow through with case management services.
So if you don't mind, sorry, I thought I was done, but you spurred another thought. What's her day like? I mean, when you mean we're trying to provide wraparound services, you said health and mental health, and what kind of is a day like for the case manager?
So one of the things what we require with this position is her maintaining regular contact with families and students. So at a minimum, she's making monthly visits to the students' schools, just checking up. And then from the initial intake, she goes through and makes sure that she provides all the resources that are required, but then throughout makes sure that they're followed through. So if she provides a food resource, she also makes sure they have transportation to get there. So if it is an unaccompanied youth or a family that is not on a bus line or cannot get there, she will transport them there. She will get them to medical care, drop them off, and then pick them up if that's absolutely what is necessary for that family. So it's really case by case depending on what's on the intake and what is needed. So we do have some students that got accepted to college but are unaccompanied youth, so they don't have that support. This is new for them, so she can sit down with them and do the college applications, the FAFSA. She can get more information about the college that they're getting accepted to, provide any information to make them feel comfortable and get the resources that they need.
Well, thanks for all you and they do.
Thank you.
In your dream world, Christian, how many of this specific position would you like to see?
How
many of this position? How many more?
Well, none in a perfect world, but to be able to manage probably that caseload, we would we would at least need 4 to 6 to be able to manage multiple caseloads at a time. But for right now, 116 is what we could see that she could do in a year without overextending and still being able to make sure that everybody follows through with the services and gets individualized attention.
Well, we don't know her name, but if you would thank her for doing her job from us, we would appreciate that. Or
Her
on
name's
behalf of myself,
Marianne.
I
Yeah,
appreciate
well.
that. Thank you.
Thanks. Will do.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next up we have purchase of security cameras. No,
It is recommended the board approve the purchase of Internet Protocol security cameras from Presidio Network Solutions Group LLC of Indianapolis in the amount of $373,616.74. The purchase will replace existing security cameras at 6 buildings, Southside, Jefferson, Indian Village, Irwin, Weiser Park, and Haley. This is the second purchase of the district's 8-year annual purchase replacement plan to transition from aging cameras at all FWCS buildings. The new IP cameras will have much higher resolution and will allow approved users to have access to greater video resolution and coverage. Funding will come from the school safety operations referendum, and Mike Manuel is here to answer questions.
thanks, Noah. Is there a motion on the floor?
Move approve.
Second.
Thanks, Noah. Thanks, Tony. Any questions for Mike? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Okay. It is recommended that the board approve the purchase of upgraded handheld radios from J&K Communication, Inc. of Columbia City, Indiana for $162,662.52. That's a lot of twos. The replacement plan project will purchase, program, and distribute upgraded handheld radios at 9 schools: Snyder, Wayne, Blackhawk, Lane, Bunch, Glenwood, Maplewood, Price, and Waynedale. The upgraded handheld radios will have wider range and higher communication resolution. J&K Communications is the sole source provider for the contract, as they are the only Kenwood authorized and approved dealer in Allen County and the surrounding counties. The project will be funded by the 2025 SAFER referendum, and Mike Manuel, Director of Security, is still here to answer any questions. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Jen. Any questions for Mike? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Jen, can you do the info board?
It is recommended that the board approve the purchase of 576 info board displays from Primex Wireless, Inc. of Lake Geneva, Wisconsin for $491,069.22. This purchase provides info board displays throughout all 32 elementary schools, 11 middle schools, and 5 high schools are already equipped with info boards from previous purchase. These network low-power displays will be mounted in common spaces and will allow for critical alerts, general messaging, and synchronized time to be shown on them. Included in this purchase is the integration with the district's Crisis Go emergency alert system and the critical notification panel that will be installed in the main offices. The critical notification panel can be customized to allow a pre-configured customized message to be displayed on all info boards within each individual school with the press of a button. Funding will come from the School Safety Operations Referendum Fund, and Mike is still here to answer our questions.
Thanks, Jen. Is there a motion on the floor?
Move approve.
Second.
Thanks, Noah. Thanks, Jen. Any questions for Mike?
What kind of messages would we see on these boards?
You couldn't get off scot-free, Mike, right? We got that 3 cracks at you?
Absolutely. So as it relates to our emergency call system, integrating with Crisis Go, if it's a lockout, as the terminology we use today, it's a lockout, it would display on the board. If it's a lockdown, it would do so. As we move further, whatever that call out, whatever's pushed into Crisis Go would actually display in the proper color as well. There's other things that can be programmed for that clock to display that might be some technology information. If you're familiar with Southside, their clocks, and they have a number of things that go across those clocks as well, but as it relates to us, it would coincide with the emergency and what's going on. It also has a timing feature, which is great for us to start timing some of our drills so that we can know if we need to improve some things. Because that's a big part of safety and security as well.
So if there's nothing going on, we just see a clock? Is that what I understand?
Yes, you'd just see a clock. I know at Southside sometimes they'll have something else display on there, like an archer or something like that. There's a number of things you could do with these boards, which I'm not familiar with that end of it. And for the schools that already have the Primex clocks, we'll go back and integrate. So that's that part of the integration and bring them up to speed with the crisis goal.
So will those screens have the same, I know in the middle schools, when it's passing period, it counts down so that students have a visual, like I need to get to class. Will these boards also have the countdown for passing periods as well?
They can, yes,
Okay.
absolutely. They have the same features.
Good. I can't say that it helps 100% get kiddos just in class on time, but it's definitely a help. It like starts flashing when it gets real close.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Any other questions about the info boards? No? Thanks, Mike.
All right, thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. This leads us to our presentation portion of the evening. Matt Schiebel, Executive Director of Safety and Community Partnerships, will share the successes of the Honeywell Arts in Education Visual Thinking Strategies program. A video of FWCS elementary classrooms utilizing the program will be shown, followed by an overview of the program by Christy Unger, Director of Education at Honeywell Arts and Education. Mr.
Thank you,
Sheep.
President Norman, members of the board, Dr. Daniels.
I want to share a growing partnership we have with one of our nonprofits. About 2.5 years ago, as I was transitioning into this current role, I became familiar with the VTS program, at which I had no idea what that was. There we go.
So visual thinking strategies came as a result of the work of Dr. Abigail Howson. She was a cognitive psychologist, and Philip Yenowin. He was the director of education at the Museum of Modern Art. Philip Yenowin was tasked by his board to determine what were people retaining after they left the museum. What did they learn, and how much could they share out following their visit? And what he learned was very disheartening: nothing. So he teamed up with Abigail Howson in the 1980s, and together they created what we now call visual thinking strategies, which is a process for viewers to make sense of something new to them. So it started as this education program in a museum, and it quickly found its way into the classroom.
It's just been a wonderful experience these last few years, having Miss Aris come visit our classroom and instruct the VTS to my students. The students love it. I love watching them, and it's just so beneficial to them in so many areas of their learning. It carries over into English language arts, into their writing and their critical thinking skills.
I see a lot of it during math this year, and especially in social studies when we're looking at pictures or when we're looking at problems in math. They now have a process for, okay, this is what I notice, this is what I'm thinking.
I like the visual thinking and collaboration. Well, I was expecting it to be boring, but what happened was it's kind of fun. It was very special, and we got to look at pictures. We were asked what was going on in the picture, and we always use our imagination to find something.
The difference about VTS and a regular school day, VTS is way more fun, and we get to look at pictures and use our our mind, and there's no right or wrong answer, is what Miss Eros told us, and she's a really, really nice, and honestly, I like VTS more than school.
So the overall experience of VTS and having Mrs. Eris come to my classroom has just been a wonderful experience these last few years, and we always look forward to having her return.
I love that they can just take a break from what they see as like traditional school, because it's a way for them to use those critical thinking skills, share what they notice, share some of their background knowledge, and they think that they're not doing traditional school skills, but they are.
So with VTS, one of the beautiful things is that 30-minute conversation where students are listening to one another and not only thinking about what they think is going on, but also hearing and broadening their own viewpoint about what others think could be going on. And so in doing that, we're not only raising thoughtful students, but we're also raising and growing students into thoughtful adults who will make our communities a better place.
Awesome. So we'll get back to our slideshow here, maybe. There we go. So one of the things that I really like about this particular nonprofit is that I wasn't really aware of it years ago, and they actually come from Wabash, Indiana. So to think that we've got a nonprofit from Wabash that's actually coming up and helping us out. The great thing is they partner with our teachers, so the VTS teacher leads the instruction, as you saw that happening in the video, but it also supports one of our three main goals. So it really helps promote literacy within the elementary schools. And I also see, and I think you saw that in the video too, is that it helps students with critical thinking, with collaboration, with being creative, a lot of inferencing. And we know that particularly when kids get to be in 3rd and 4th grade, inferencing becomes a very important skill for them to have. And not only that, it has really exploded over the time that we've been here. So when I first started 2.5 years ago, I think we had 2 schools. We've expanded now about 7-fold, and Christy will give you more specifics. And best of all, it's free, so that's always a good thing, and we really appreciate the quality of service that we get, and it continues to expand. And it's one of those programs that every time I touch base with principals, it's a resounding yes, let's continue. And so we've worked with the elementary directors and Dr. Brown to see which schools would be best fit for this. But the other thing Christy's going to show you here now is really the growth that happens over time. And one of the challenges for me that I'd like to see, and Christy and I have talked about this before, is how can we take the success of VTS and maybe monitor the metrics like through Lexia. So how can we make sure those students that are in the classroom, even though they're performing wonderfully on the metrics that they use for their grant, how does that also scale to the academic measures that we have? So Christy, you've done a wonderful job, and we're going to let you finish.
Thank you. Well, let's make sure that, first of all, you can hear me. And okay. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for allowing us to be present today. Like Matt said, Honeywell was founded in 1941, a leading nonprofit arts organization located in Wabash. And I want to introduce some people that are here tonight as well from Honeywell. Kathy Gatchell is our Chief Development Officer. Sally Krause is the Honeywell Foundation Board President. And then behind Sally, you see Eris Migliorini, the rock star of the video there. Eris is one of our VTS facilitators in Fort Wayne Community Schools. So nearly 24 years ago, Honeywell Arts and Education started, and we started with 2 page-to-stage student matinees. So students were bused into the Honeywell Center, and then over those 24 years, we've grown to include thousands of student interactions in schools across several counties. And like Matt said, all of those are provided free of charge to the schools. So let's dig into Honeywell's history with VTS. And as you can see, the VTS program has a very rooted history at Honeywell. And I think like you saw in the video, the main reason that we are able to continue to grow this program is because there's a direct correlation to what teachers are doing in the classrooms. Matt referenced this a bit as well, looking specifically at our growth. In 2022-23, we had the opportunity to meet with Dr. Deborah Faye Williams-Robbins, and at the end of that meeting, it was decided that we would pilot in 2 schools, so 7 classrooms within 3 schools. And the way we implement or roll out VTS is we typically go in with our grade classrooms, and then the following year at that school, we will add 4th grade, and then the 3rd year, we will add 5th grade. And so looking at that 3-year rollout, this year, it was exciting to be in 9 Fort Wayne Community Schools and 57 total classrooms. So as we look to the future, next year we hope to continue to add 4th and 5th grade at the schools accordingly, and then possibly additional 3rd grade classrooms as well in additional schools. So a glance at what happens during that 45-minute visit each month. We visit, like I said, 45 minutes in each of those classrooms every month from September through April, so 8 months. The first 30 minutes are a student-centered conversation, and we use a piece of art as the text. Art is subjective. Like one of the students said in the video, there's not necessarily a right or a wrong answer when you're looking at art, and I think that levels the playing field, because when you give students a piece of text, if they can't decode it, they automatically don't have a level playing field for being able to use their critical thinking skills. And so art has a way of doing that for us. But the beautiful thing is the skills that they're learning are so transferable to things beyond a piece of art. Like you heard Mrs. Connor say, students are transferring the process that because we're teaching them a process. And so they can transfer that process into math and into science and into social studies. And so during that 30-minute conversation, the facilitator, Eris, or whether it's Eris or Mrs. Cook, they're facilitating. It's not an art history lesson. The kids are doing the hard work. The kids are making the inferences. The facilitator is simply paraphrasing what the students are saying, and the purpose of that paraphrase is she's lifting the level of vocabulary that is being used. So she's not changing what the students say, but she's finding ways to elevate the vocabulary and also frame the thinking, because some students don't realize, I just spoke about a possible theme, or I just examined character motives or cause and effect situations. They may not understand that that's what they're doing, and so the facilitator is able to put a frame around that to kind of help them. The other thing that is happening then is at the end of that 45-minute session, the last 15 minutes we spend in writing, because as educators, we all know that it is super important for kids to have those skills in their conversation, but it's very important that they can transfer those skills into their independent writing. And so as we think about things like iLearn and those constructed response items, the way that students approach the writing in VTS is much like what they are asked to do during a constructed response question on the iLearn test. So the VTS organization has researched and researched the questions that are asked. We do not change these questions because you all know if we are trying to develop this cognitive process that sticks, if we continue to change it, it isn't sticky. And so we ask the same 3 questions because we want kids to understand when I come across something that I'm not sure about, I have the strategy. I can think about what's going on either in this picture or in this text or in this diagram or in this experiment. And then that question of looking for evidence, what do you see that makes you say that? And then what more can you find? Because there's always more. There's always more if you go back to a text to examine and to glean additional information. There are no wrong answers, like you heard the student say, as long as the thinking is grounded in the art as the text. So
For the rest of the time that I present, I want to look at the data that we collected last year. This is last year's data. We are still compiling the information from this year. We completed assessment metrics on approximately 22% of the classrooms that we worked in, and then 40 to 50% of the assessed classrooms were from Fort Wayne Community Schools. And so we just kind of looked at the data to think about how the students in Fort Wayne Community Schools were comparing with all of the schools that we assessed. And this first graph shows the number of supported inferences made during conversation. And when we think about a supported inference, we're thinking about, so if we go back to this picture here and we look at this man playing his guitar, if a student said something like, "I think this man is a traveling entertainer," and they said nothing else, we would count that as an unsupported inference because they didn't provide any evidence that we could point to. And the facilitator would follow up then to try to gather that evidence. However, if the student would have said, "I think this man is a traveling entertainer because I notice he's on foot, he has his instruments, he's wearing shoes, he's dressed professionally," that would have been a supported inference that we would have counted during that conversation. And so what's exciting about this, especially when you look at that third grade data, the students in Fort Wayne Community Schools did more than just grow overall. They closed that gap and had substantial growth during their third grade year. The other thing that we listen for during the conversation is the number of times that students connect their ideas to one another. And this is huge. And it sounds like this. It sounds like, "I agree with the idea that this person's a traveling entertainer because I see this." Or, "I disagree that this man is a traveling entertainer. I think he's the dad of the family because I see this." And so what's happening here, and especially look at that fourth grade data, what that means to me is these kids, this is their second year, and they're becoming capable of what we call nuanced thinking, meaning things are complicated. There's more than one way to look at something. We don't all have to agree as long as our thinking is grounded in evidence. So think about it this way. If every student left elementary school realizing that matters are complicated and that we don't all have to agree, but we all have to be able to ground our thinking in something that we can look at, they are gaining 21st century skills that make them not only ready for higher education, but ready for the workforce. And then finally, like I talked about earlier, we want students to be able to have the conversation because conversation skills are important, especially in this world of this digital world where we are so screen oriented and don't necessarily have conversation. But writing is important as well. So students have 15 minutes both in the fall and the spring, and we're looking at how many supported inferences are students writing. And the growth there is incredible in only 15 minutes. And what I should say, what is not accounted for is we've noticed in 4th and 5th grade that many times the students will make an inference and they will begin supporting it with 2 and 3 pieces of evidence. That's still counted just as one inference, but the growth there is outstanding. And noting that your 3rd and 4th graders are right in line with all of the other classrooms that we are assessing. And again, I come back to this idea. We go into all these classrooms, 136 classrooms all over this regional footprint that we have. And in so many classrooms, there's a poster on the teachers' walls, and it's race. And I don't know if you have heard of that strategy, but they're teaching kids every day. They want them to restate the question in their answer. They want them to answer the question. C is they want them to cite evidence. And E is they want them to explain how their evidence answers the question. That's a strategy that your teachers are using every day, and that's exactly what we're doing in VTS. And so it's just so exciting to be a part of all of the
wonderful things that are already happening in Fort Wayne Community Schools. So I want to thank Mr. Scheibel, your administrators, your students, for allowing us to be a small part of the great things that you have going on.
Sounds like our students aren't very bashful. Speaking of.
You know what? That's the beauty of VTS, because it's a safe environment. And like Eris, and Tyler Cook isn't here, she's another of our VTS facilitators. But that is something that we strive. We don't put anybody on the spot, but we encourage everyone to participate. And we see as the year goes on, they are just more enthused and more excited to participate.
Thank you for presenting. I'm thankful that our students have this opportunity, but I am curious where the funding comes from for VTS, is that right?
It is, right. Yes, so we have, and Kathy leads our robust team of development at Honeywell, and so we write, they write, we do, that is not necessarily part of my role, many grants. And so we have been privileged to receive just recently a grant from the Ardell and Teresa Glaze Foundation, as well as the Arts United Capacity Grant. And so those are two that I can name off the top of my head.
Matt, shame on you for not making the nice, beautiful drive down 24 to visit the Honeywell Center in Wabash. I am very familiar with this organization, as I worked in Wabash, Indiana for many years, and I know Kathy Gatchell probably longer than her and I both care to remember. But I'm curious, as I'm assuming, and I've seen the growth at the Honeywell Center over a number of years, you probably went from a more rural service to now an urban. What has been some of the changes or differences, either A, you guys have seen, or B, you guys had to adapt to with our student population?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that honestly was one of our reasons for expansion, because we had been working in primarily rural communities, rural schools, neighboring Wabash. So as we moved into Fort Wayne Community Schools, the largest school district, obviously the student population is more diverse. And the beautiful thing for us about that is we have been able to do a couple of things. It's made us better in thinking about how we meet the needs of students who are English language learners, because we hadn't encountered that to the degree that we have here. You have some incredible teachers who Eris is a wonderful partner with them, and they've offered to help us to create our writing pages in different languages for those students. They've offered to help us make sure we have the translation correct. Google Translate is not always your best option. But then also, we meet with our team. We have 7 full facilitators, and we meet regularly to review our image selection. And one of the things that we do now is when we do our image selection for VTS, we want to make sure it's accessible to all of our students and that they can make a connection. And so we're able to kind of view our image selection through the lens of some of the students that represent some of the diverse populations. So it's been, we are happy to provide the service to you, but we're also so thankful for the things that we're learning from your team and your students.
Great. Well, the Honeywell Center is a wonderful organization. As I said, a beautiful facility in downtown Wabash. I would encourage anybody to go see there. I'd love to see this in all of our 32 elementary schools. I think it's the Honeywell Center provides top level experiences in everything it does. And so, Kathy, go raise some more money and we'll bring you in. So.
No pressure. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was awesome. Okay, so this brings us to board member comments. Steve?
I also wanted to recognize Sally Krause as part of the Honeywell team. She is a former school board member, so there is life after service on the school board.
Are you proposing something for yourself, Steve? After 50 years?
Trying to figure it out.
This is your future plans?
We have quickly convened a task force commission to figure out what happened with today's agenda. And I can verify you, Madam Chair, that it was 100% human error in my skipping over item A on the new business.
No worries.
My apologies.
We got it.
That's it.
That's it.
Well, I just wanted to say we're coming up on the end of the school year, and so just congratulations to all those who are graduating. Congratulations to the parents who've gotten through. May is extremely busy for everyone, so the students, the parents, the teachers, administrators, I just want to send out a thank you for that. I will be trying to rush off to a Black Hawk Middle School choir after this, so understand that there's a lot of great things that are still happening at the end of the school year.
I had a chance to visit with Snyder today with Jennifer and Dr. Daniel, and congratulating them on having the highest graduation rate of any public school in the county, as I believe. So congratulations to the Snyder team, Principal Hissong, and Guidance Coordinator Adrian Schroyer were key elements along with the whole staff, and it was great to see some familiar faces and go back to our TLR days. Last week, many of us had the opportunity to attend the Indiana School Board Association Regional Conference meeting, and while it was informative, though really the only thing I want to go over on that is Ms. Krause was a great board member in Manchester, and I'd met Sally a number of years ago when I was there and appreciated her service, but there was a little school corporation called Union School Corporation that was taken over this year by the Indiana State Assembly. And the Indiana School Board Association Executive Director is a gentleman named Terry Spradlin. He's very, I would say, in touch with what's going on in the State House. And even he was at a loss for why this was done. It was a small school district, but it had listened to the state and it had listened to their challenges of diversifying and expanding their offerings and doing unique things, and they decided to go all in for a virtual school and had over 9,000 kids attend the virtual school. There was no public discussion about this, no openness about it at all, and it was slipped in at the last minute, like many other things this last legislative session, unfortunately. So us representing a local district who tries very hard to meet the standards of the state and do the best we can, I think it's very disconcerting. So for the 10 people watching, just be paying attention to those kind of things as, you know, we're heading down a slippery path, in my opinion. I'll stop at that so Tony can get to her concert.
Thanks, no. Jen? Yes, congratulations to Snyder. That was a great celebration today with their staff and their guidance coordinators and their principal. Very proud of them. Last Friday, for those of you who know me, I'm pretty passionate about youth sports, and I sit on the first tee committee for golf. And this is our second year. Fort Wayne Community Schools was involved with the first tee skills challenge, and we had 10 schools participate, 10 elementary schools at McMillan Park, and 8 at Brookwood, which in total was 180 of our elementary school kids who were able to be get the opportunity to spend the morning on the golf course, which for a lot of them that have never been. We run a curriculum in our gym classes throughout the year, and then the teacher gets the opportunity to select 10 students from each school. First Tee partners with us and pays for the sub for the day, pays for the transportation for the day, and then sends our kids home on a full belly of pizza. Hopefully they made it home okay. A few of them had way too much pizza. But it's a great event for our kids to learn something other than those standard athletic opportunities in gym class of football, basketball. It's taking them, breaking a barrier for them is how I see it. Breaking a barrier for a lot of our students. Golf isn't an inexpensive game to play, but it can be in our schools. And I want to provide all those children with that opportunity to give it a shot. So the skills challenge provided by First Tee was our opportunity to expose our students to that curriculum in a safe way in our elementary schools, and then come out to the golf course and hit a real golf ball and a golf with a real golf club. We also had a community partner with us, which was Howard Bailey Financial. They also do a lot of youth, they support the youth golf in Indiana and in Fort Wayne. They sent out their volunteers as well to help out with us that day. So it was a great community partnership. We had some ladies from the Women's LPGA come out, and the Fort Wayne chapter come out, and the Women's Golf Association. So it was a good community event for our kids, but I just was so happy to see the joy on their face when they actually hit the ball and the ball went somewhere, or they put it in the hole. You would have thought they won $1 million, but it was a really exciting day.
I have no comments. Dr. Daniel?
So I had the opportunity to travel with Greater Fort Wayne Inc.'s visitation to Little Rock, Arkansas. Part of that visit was to look at affordable housing and some of the creative things that are happening in that space. I think that is an interest area for us as well, and something to look forward to in the future. How do we create affordable housing with developers, specifically within Fort Wayne Community Schools area? So also we visited a couple of their high schools that are also part of the Forward Next Generation Learning, and listen to how their chamber has involved themselves and then split off to a 501c3. But again, looking at where they started in 2018, where we are today in 2025, and as I mentioned at Snyder, the fact that we have teachers that are teaming, administrators that are part of that team, looking at individual students' needs, i.e. whether it be in the classroom, whether it be in the services that we need to provide them beyond the classroom, I am very encouraged where we are. And I know we have a visit this week, this entire week, with Ford NGL. Their representatives are here visiting us and again giving us input in regards to how we can get better, better, and better. So that's it.
Great, thank you. I just have a few comments. Last week was Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week, and just wanted to say thank you to all those PTAs and PTSAs who celebrated our staff in clever, fun ways. Obviously, they deserve way more than a week celebration, but it was fun to celebrate the staffs in all of our buildings. The other thing that I wanted to share, my student, who's an 8th grader, got an opportunity to visit AMP Lab. And so those are some of those experiences that our students are having through our Schools of Success, so preparing them. Not only did he get to visit AMP Lab, he also had the opportunity to visit Anthos Career Center as well. So shout out to Miss Ashley Nichter, who's the Career and College Readiness Coach, who was able to take the students to those experiences. So again, just opportunities that we're allowing students to have even at the middle school level before they get to high school to pick those pathways to see what they might be interested in. So those are really good opportunities. And because it is the end of the year, and I'll wrap up here, I promise, Tony, so you can go to your concert. Just wanted to say thank you so much to everyone. Fort Wayne Community Schools is a very large organization, 4,000 employees, and every single employee that we have plays a critical role in making this very large ship run accordingly. And so thank you to everyone who makes our district great. And it is all of our staff, all of our students, all of our families. So have a safe and happy summer. Congratulations to the graduates and teachers and staff. Hold on. We got, what, 7 days? 7 days. It's going to be okay. We're going to make it.
I do have one more thing, Madam President, I forgot. I want to congratulate Ms. Ann Duff for receiving an award at the ISBA that we got on her behalf, but I also want to congratulate you for getting the highest individual award. Now, it's not just her specifically, it's a process, and to me, it's your years of service and activity on the school board, as well as the School Board Association, and so you were awarded the exemplary
level,
which is the highest level any individual school board member can get from the ISBA. So congratulations to you and Ann.
Thanks. And you also got an award too.
Same one as Ann.
Hey.
Congratulations, Noah.
Yes.
Not as high as you though.
No, that's okay. It's fine. Thank you. I appreciate that. The board also received an award for cumulatively having a lot of points. We earn points as school board members. So congratulations to all of the board members for continuing your education as a school board member. I feel like at some point you feel like you know everything, and then something else happens and you feel like you know nothing. So it's a really great position that always keeps you on your toes. So thank you again to everyone. All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nope.